In Chicago and beyond, more at shepherdmullen.com.
Apple's focus on U.S. manufacturing is not exactly new.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Viking, exploring the world in comfort. With a fleet of small ships, Viking offers travel experiences for the thinking person. Discover more at Viking.com.
I'm David Brancaccio. Apple has a pattern of announcing big investments in U.S. jobs at the start of new presidential administrations. Back in 2021, at the dawn of the Biden administration, there was a big package. Now it's a $500 billion investment package from Apple for U.S. operations over the next 4 years. That's building a new factory in Texas to make back-end computers to crunch artificial intelligence, to 20,000 more R&D people. It also includes producing shows and movies for Apple TV. An analysis in the Wall Street Journal finds that money is in line with previous trend lines for Apple. As for the timing of this announcement, here's Marketplace's Mitchell Hartman.
Apple's announcement comes amidst the looming threat of new import tariffs from the Trump administration that could hit Apple's global supply chain and its biggest cash cow, iPhones. It also comes days after President Trump met with Apple CEO Tim Cook, who Dan Ives at Wedbush Securities calls
10% politician, 90% CEO, definitely a good poker move to make sure if there's loopholes, exclusions to tariffs, they'd get them.
Apple's got a lot to lose from new tariffs, says Christine McDaniel at George Mason University's Mercatus Center.
They're probably importing between 60 and 100 billion each year.
Apple now says it'll produce more domestically, especially cutting-edge software and AI. But as for Apple's overall production spending, says Angelo Zeno at CFRA Research,
we do expect an overwhelming majority to continue to go into China.
And increasingly, its low-cost neighbor, India. I'm Mitchell Hartman for Marketplace.
Still confusion at federal agencies over an ultimatum from the unofficial czar of government cuts. That's Elon Musk. He had given federal workers until yesterday to respond to an email asking what they did the previous week as a possible precursor to firings. But key parts of the administration are also telling workers not to respond, and Musk has given them another day. Marketplace's Nancy Marshall-Ginzer reports.
In a post on X, Elon Musk said federal workers had to reply to the email by just before midnight Eastern time yesterday. And if they didn't, that would be tantamount to a resignation. Now there are reports the Office of Personnel Management, basically the government's HR department, told federal agencies their workers didn't have to reply to the email and wouldn't lose their jobs if they didn't. Reuters is reporting that OPM also told agencies that if their workers did respond, they shouldn't include any sensitive or classified information. Federal agencies have taken different approaches. Some, like OPM and the General Services Administration, which manages federal buildings, still encourage workers to respond. Others, like the Defense Department, Justice, State, and Homeland Security departments, told workers not to reply. Federal employees at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau got the email, even though they'd been told to stop working. I'm Nancy Marshall-Ginzer for Marketplace.
Markets S&P futures are up by less than 0.1% now. NASDAQ futures are little changed. Stock in Hims & Hers Health down 22% in pre-market trading now. Its quarterly profit guidance was strong yesterday, but investors today can't get past an FDA ruling that means that company can no longer sell knockoff Ozempic-style medicine. By the way, the company is Hims & Hers, but the stock ticker symbol is just Hims.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Affinity, provider of the CRM for the private capital relationship economy. Affinity knows who has the best relationship with the right startup. Affinity.co/marketplace.
Some people call them snow machines. I'm from Maine, and where I grew up, we called them snowmobiles, or maybe just the big brand, Arctic Cat. Arctic Cat, owned by the Textron conglomerate, says it'll stop building new snowmobiles this year, which will mean layoffs concentrated in Minnesota and the upper Midwest. Michigan Public's Tyler Scott has more.
On the shores of Starvation Lake in northern Michigan, the Hideaway Bar is popular with snowmobilers. Curtis Goings and his buddies are here. They came all the way from Indiana. They're thawing out after a day enjoying the trails.
We got a group of about 10 of us. We're always out there drag racing. We're always out there having a good time.
The speed, the fresh air, being outdoors, it's all a lot of fun. but Goings can only get out on his snowmobile when there's snow.
This whole week we've been up here, it's been beautiful weather. But the time before that, we couldn't come up because they didn't have snow.
This is the first time in 2 years he's been back to Starvation Lake. Warm winters have kept the snow from piling up. With more snow this year, Goings won't miss any opportunity.
Oh no, we're doing more riding tonight.
After a bite to eat, they hop on their sleds to hit the trail. Goings and his group are enjoying this year, but the trend toward milder winters isn't great for the snowmobile business in general.
It's the gravy train when snow hits.
Lenny Sims is the vice president of specialty vehicles at J.D. Power and Associates.
And if it's a good winter, the snowmobile market does pretty well. When it doesn't, it's a struggle.
He says sales of snowmobiles boomed during the pandemic when people were thirsty to get outdoors. Since then, low snow years, plus inflation, high interest rates, and other consumer expenses are softening demand for snowmobiles.
You're facing all of these other increasing factors, and the pie is only so big for discretionary income.
Jamie Katz is an equity analyst at Morningstar. Textron, the parent company of the well-known snowmobile company Arctic Cat, cited that softening demand when it announced it's indefinitely pausing snowmobile production sometime this year. Yamaha is also folding its snowmobile division. Other manufacturers have a bigger share of the market, including Ski-Doo and Polaris. But Katz says it's telling that 2 of the big 4 snowmobile companies are getting out.
You have this amalgamation of headwinds that has been really unsurmountable for a lot of these guys.
There's still a chance another company could swoop in to buy Arctic Cat and try to revive it. After all, snowmobile riders are a passionate bunch who go to great lengths to find snow, even if climate change makes it more difficult. In northern Michigan, I'm Tyler Scott for Marketplace.
Just remember, they also called them Ski-Doos. Now, last week we reported that Jo-Ann's Fabrics is back in bankruptcy and will close many of its stores. The news now is it's all stores. There were 19,000 employees at Jo-Ann's at last check. Our producers are Nick Perez, Ariana Rosas, Alex Schroeder, and Erica Soderstrom. Our senior producer is Meredith Gerritsen-Morby. I'm David Brancaccio. It's the Marketplace Morning Report from APM, American Public Media.
Tune in this afternoon at 4:30 for a wrap-up of the day's business news on Marketplace. Afternoon at 4:30 for a wrap-up of the day's business news on Marketplace here on 91.5 WBEZ. Good morning. I'm Mary Dixon. It's 7:59. Not much snowmobiling around Chicago today. We're expecting partly sunny skies and a high of 52. Coming up in the next hour, 2 major murder trials begin in Joliet and Waukegan. We'll hear from some Chicago area families who feel betrayed and confused after Lurie Children's Hospital canceled gender-affirming surgeries. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker thinks Democrats should have done some things differently in the last election. The Bulls trounced the 76ers, and the Blackhawks head for Utah. This is WBEZ HD Chicago 91.5 FM, WBEQ Morris 90.7 FM, WBEK Kankakee 91.1 FM, W219 CD Elgin, and on your smart speaker.
Good morning. The United States broke with longtime allies and blocked the United Nations from blaming Russia for its invasion of Ukraine. What does the choice of words mean for war and peace? It's Morning Edition from NPR News. The Trump administration chose the second in command at the FBI, Dan Bongino, a former cop, radio host, and podcaster. I'm Layla Faldin.